Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody. Here we are, Abhayagiri and ordination of the three novices, Tejasāro, Obhāsī, and Sivako. And this is the culmination of a long period of training for these three candidates, and today there's many family members, friends, well-wishers here to witness the ordination, and it's of course I'm very biased, but I really like ordinations. And to see people making a commitment and a commitment. That's it's not an easy thing to do, to really make a commitment in one's life. And that's whether it's to education or relationship or job or whatever. Coming and taking ordination anywhere in general, but particularly at Abhayagiri. Don't really bend over backwards to make people comfortable and happy here. So, and that was and that's sort of okay. Well, whoever wants to live like this can live like it. But and that was actually one of the ways that Ajahn Chah trained his monastics, and then when the first Western monk showed up to train with Ajahn Chah, Ajahn Sumedho, then he had been ordained at another place and came to live with Ajahn Chah. He was a fairly newly ordained, but had heard of Ajahn Chah's reputation and was impressed with him as a teacher and the place as a place to practice, and asked to train with him. And Ajahn Chah thought about it for a bit, because he'd never, the only time he'd seen a Westerner was in a movie, so the idea of taking on a Westerner for training was probably kind of daunting. But he said, well, you can train here, you can study here, you can stay here, but you have to adapt to this place, this training. I can't make you comfortable here. So that knowing that, and that was really, I think it was a tremendous amount of wisdom on Ajahn Chah's part. And that holds true across the time even now, that it's, like Ajahn Sumedho is now 56 years as a monk, and time has passed, but that principle is one that's really really important, that people come here and they take a look at it and test it out, and if it's interesting, to come and try it out, and there's periods of coming as a layperson for shorter than longer periods, coming and after one's been here for a while as a layperson, and to make a request to train as Anagarkas, is in white, as in the Anagarkas over there. And then if they're continue with that training, feel comfortable with it, want to take on novice training, that's each one is the novice and the Anagarika training is at least a year, and sometimes more, and so it's a long period of testing the waters and seeing, do I want to do this? And then each of those is a commitment, just to come back after the first visit. It's okay, that's a commitment. And then to continue to sort of say, okay, yeah, I think I want to do this. And so that now for Tejasāro, Obhāsī, and Sivako have wish to make a commitment to the full bhikkhu training or full monk vows. So that, and that's another kind of level of making that commitment. So it's something on it for all of us coming here today. It's kind of a celebration of that commitment, and to witness their taking on this training. They're going forth. So we can begin with paying respects to the Triple Gem, to the shrine.
If you want to just lead that.
Okay. Yoso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Sawakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supakipano Yasa Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅgho Dhammayang Bhagavantang Sadhammang Sasangham Imehi Sakare Yataraha Arobitehi Abhipujayama Sadhu no Bhante Bhagava Suchira Parinibhutopi Pachima Janatanu Manasa Ime Sakare Dugatapana Karabhute Patiganhatu Amha Kangi Garatang Hitaya Sukaya Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivade. Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅgho Saṅgham Namami. Ananayan Munda Sabhagavato Upavakanamakarañ Kalomase.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
And begin with the the ordination. The novices will request to retake their novice precepts and to it's like redetermining or refreshing, so that the beginning of the ordination is say entering it into the ordination ceremony with sort of clear precepts in place, and hopefully from the last time it wasn't that long ago, but it's more ceremony, but it's also very meaningful that whatever we begin, if we're thinking of doing something that really has integrity and is auspicious, then it should be done with a real pure heart and pure foundation of conduct and virtue. So can go ahead and begin bowing 3 times and make the request. So the senior chanting acharya will go back and give the precepts, or lead them through the precepts. And what they've just chanted is they've made the request to take the refuges and precepts, but it also begins with a very beautiful way of paying respects. It's like yes, just like, please allow me to offer my respects. Please, and grant forgiveness for any shortcomings, and dedication of merit for whatever has been done, and that sharing of all the blessings of this.
Saranasiram yachami tatiyampi aham bhante Saranasiram yachami Namo Samma Sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Yamaham vadami tam vadehi Okasaham abhante Buddhaṃ saranam gacchami Buddhaṃ saranam gacchami Dhammaṃ saranam gacchami Dhammaṃ saranam gacchami Saṅghaṃ saranam gacchami Saṅghaṃ saranam gacchami Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchami Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchami Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saranam gacchami Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saranam gacchami Dutiyampi Saṅghaṃ saranam gacchami Dutiyampi Saṅghaṃ saranam gacchami Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchami Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchami Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saranam gacchami Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saranam gacchami Tatiyampi Saṅghaṃ saranam gacchami Tatiyampi Saṅghaṃ saranam gacchami Tisaranat kamanang niditaṃ Okasaham abhante Anatipata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Anatipata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Adinadana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Adinadana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Musavada veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Musavada veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Surameraya majapamadatana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Surameraya majapamadatana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Nacha gita varita visukkadasana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Nacha gita varita visukkadasana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Jata rupa rajatapati kahana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Jata rupa rajatapati kahana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami Okasaham abhante Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami
Open the center door.
a bit stuffy?
Sure, it is stuffy in here. Wouldn't hurt to. People could help grab the trays of offerings and bring back. Okay, so the next part of this procedure is inviting the families, friends to come forward with the requisites, bowls, robes, and the tray of offerings for the preceptor. I assume we've all been schooled in how to come forward with that.
And then the 3 monks to help with the Sanghatis.
Yeah, and the 3 monks to help with the Sanghatis.
Do that now.
Yeah, you can go ahead and stand up and receive that, or
Okay. You can hand it to him.
go ahead. Yeah. There we go. Set it down.
Father.
Okay, excellent.
You can set the offering tray on the bowl.
So especially for the ordination, we sort of get them all cinched up and tied together so they don't fall apart. It's, by now they're very familiar with their robes, but in a public ceremony or in a ceremony like this, and then it's it's a confidence booster to know your robes aren't going to fall off in the middle of the ceremony. So it's Then the robes that they okay, you can sit and so the robes have all been sewn by them, and it's part of the preparation of the ordination is getting their bowls. Of course, they had already, because as novices, that's definitely part of their lifestyle to be using their alms bowls, learning how to use them, learning how to look after them. I've recently been in England and Portugal, and branch monasteries of our teacher there, and one of the things they do in the European communities is novices and junior monks. Their bowls are like ceramic bowls, clay bowls, that are because in the monastic discipline, in the training, there's all sorts of little rules that are given about how to look after the bowls, how to wash them, how to dry them out, how to care for them, where to place them, where not to place them. Because in the Buddha's time, they were mostly clay-fired bowls, and you had to be really careful. I'm not quite sure where their sources are, but for the clay bowls, particularly in England, but there seems to be an endless supply of them.
Local potter.
There's a local potter. So it's never really happened for us here in Abhayagiri. So anybody's a potter. It would be an interesting way to begin training. There's a certain advantage to having a stainless steel bowl, but it's also you don't have to take as much care. Even when I was a young monk, I used to hate that. Stainless steel bowls hadn't really been invented yet, and we had iron bowls that we had to fire them, and then in order to get because iron would rust, and you had to really look after them, and so that firing them, you got that kind of it's kind of like a case hardening way, and it got a bit of a coating on the outside from the metal, and but you have to be really careful. You have to look after it because it can chip, and then it'll start to get rusty, and it'll start to eat away the bowl. So that, say for myself as a young monk, then you tend to inherit some old bowl from somewhere, and it had holes in it already, and you had to be really patching it with, usually be like beeswax, and to keep it from rusting, and sort of course it wears out. But you're learning how to look after a bowl so that they don't chip, they don't get dented or in any way. So that's just the care of attention to requisites is part of the training, so that they've been training in this for quite some time, and that is it's quite a there's a lot of levels of care that are required to just the caring for the requisites. The same with looking after the robes, and when you have sewn them yourself and you realize how much work goes into creating a robe and making a robe, then you want to really look after it. So there's a high motivation level, but there's appreciation of of what we have. We have very, our life is devoted to simplicity, and the simple things that we do have, there's a lot of care and attention, and training is focused on looking after those simple things. So the robes and the bowls that the family and friends and supporters have offered is a very meaningful act of theirs. It's integral to this going forth as somebody who's ordained in the Buddhist path. So we can begin the next part of the ceremony with the novices picking up your bowls and trays and coming into the midst of the Sangha.
I'll stop about 3 feet before
Yeah.
the edge.
Stop before and
That's good.
Okasa vandami bante, savanga paradam kamatame bante, maya katam punyam samina anumoditam, samina katam punyam mayam datam, sadhu, sadhu, anumodami, okasa punya katwa, Yesayam retame bante.
okay, you can come forward. Right. Remember to give these out to people. Okay. Okay, put together.
Yeah.
So they've offered there's a traditional offering in Buddhism for the candles, incense, and flowers. Those are traditional devotional offerings to teachers or to the Buddha, or on special occasions. We do that for parents sometimes, and so these are traditional offerings. So they're set out in nice trays, and then offering of the bowl to the preceptor. As a what they're going to do now, they're going to request dependence in the this tradition. You're not. It's not a do-it-yourself technique. You learn from elders. You learn from those who are experienced, and you formally take dependence on the teachers. So in the ceremony today, then that is a taking dependence on the preceptor, but it is a broader taking dependence in the sense of taking dependence on the teacher. Like the Ajahn Yaniko, Ajahn Kasapo are the chanting acharyas. They are the chanting teachers, and Ajahn Yaniko, as the abbot of the monastery, is the main teacher. Ajahn Kasapo, as a chanting acharya, then you have a formal relationship to as a teacher, but also being here at Abhayagiri, then there are other teachers, Ajahn Krunadhammo, Ajahn Titapanyo, Ajahn Sudhiro. I mean, you guys are really lucky, just having this kind of experience of people who have gone through the training, who are able to give encouragement, give guidance, because this is, as I said, it's not a do-it-yourself technique. You watch a YouTube video and then become a monk, you know. It's a craft that is passed on through living it, a craft is something that is absorbed. It's something that you live it, and it's passed on. So that's what the role of taking dependence is, taking dependence on those elders who do have experience and can help encourage, help guide, help support you in your monastic vocation and your aspiration for understanding the Buddhist way. So you can go ahead and make the formal request. I think we've got enough fresh air for now.
I think the doors could be closed, but just leave those windows open. That's good enough.
Yeah, I think that's probably enough. Yeah, I think we did the fresh air bit. Yeah.
We didn't want to open everything.
Yeah. Okay, great. Go for it.
Aham bante nisayang yachami dutiyampi aham bante nisayang yachami tatiyampi aham bante nisayang yachami upajayo me bante hohi upajayo me bante hohi upajayo me bante hohi
Obhāyikam
Okasa sampatichami
Pati Rupang
Okasa sampatichami
Pāsadikena Sampadehi
Okasa sampatichami Ajapagedani tero Mayhambaru Aham pidera sabaro Rajatage dani tero, mayam baro, aham pitera sabaro. Rajatage dani tero, mayam baro, aham pitera sabaro.
Okay, so you can sit. Okay, so having formally taken dependence, it's just that recognition that you are requesting to be independence on the preceptor and the teachers, and but it's also that say for myself as the preceptor, but say broader as the acharyas as well. That recognition. Okay, yes, you're asking for dependence, and we are willing to give dependence and to perform that role of being a maybe mentor is a good word, and so that one is both giving oneself to training, but also say for ourselves that we're taking on the role of helping with the training and pointing out things that are needed in terms of both in terms of the theory of the life, the Buddha's teachings, the philosophy, the meditation techniques, but also the day-to-day life, and because this is it is a lifestyle. It's not just a philosophy. And it is something that we live day in and day out, and being willing to learn. Because sometimes it's nice to again read a book and think, well, that's not so difficult. That's certainly how I felt. Read a book and did a meditation retreat, and how difficult can this be? But then it's in the day-to-day living that we learn, and it's in the day-to-day living that we do need guidance, we do need support, and also in terms of living independence, it's a way of giving support to the the elders in the community. And as of today, everybody who's here is elder to you. It's that's the. But there is that living in mutual dependence on each other, and that is, and which is kind of a theme that goes through the whole of our lifestyle, because that even as monastics, we don't live independent of the society that we live with. We live within the society where it might be a weird corner of it, but it's set up in a way that we can't be completely independent, and that's you really see the Buddha's wisdom and that is symbolized in the bowl. That we rely on alms food each day, as say, fully ordained monks, and we have no ability to. We don't have any money, so you can't go and buy food. We don't have the rules preclude us from storing food. We can't keep a stash just in case. It's the lay community who provide the material support for our basic things of eating each day, and the same with all of our other requisites. We're completely dependent on the generosity of others, and that is, that is a when it's lived skillfully and with a lot of gratitude and humility, that's very beautiful, because you do recognize that nobody has to give us anything. We don't have to get anything, but people are willing to support us to live a simple life that is focused on a spiritual training, spiritual practice, and that is something very beautiful. So that's recognizing these different layers of dependence that we have. Of course, we have dependence on the teacher, but it's dependent on the whole monastic community that we live in, the lay community that we live with. So it's just recognizing, because in reality, as human beings, somebody who is completely isolated, usually doesn't last very long. That's the reality, and to say in human history, say the great punishment would be to isolate you from the society or the culture in some way, or shun one from that. And so we live in mutual dependence and making it very conscious, so that and the bowl and the robes are symbols of that. And to use this offering of the bowls and the robes that your family and friends have offered, but then also coming and offering bowls and robes to me as the preceptor, and then I will formally point them out to you. These are your bowl. This is your bowl. These are your robes, and it's these taking it to a not just on a material level. Okay, yeah, of course it's my bowl, but it's no. These are areas of dependence and that we reflect on, and symbols of our interdependence. So that, and then in terms of the actual procedure of the ordination, of course, this is an ancient tradition. The ordination is done in the Pali language, a scriptural language, and because that is what, let's say, our texts have passed down the procedures and have preserved over millennia, 2,500 years, to the point that, say, like today, we're very, say, honored and very fortunate to have Reverend Hung Shur, Reverend Jin Chuan here, as representatives from the Chinese Mahayana tradition, Master Hua, City of 10,000 Buddhas right nearby here. And we are sometimes invited to participate in their ordinations, and their teacher, Master Hua, was someone who was trained in the Vinaya. He was a lineage holder in the, for Vinaya, the discipline. And the procedure of their ordinations is pretty much exactly the same as what we're doing. It's not so that these are very ancient traditions, but they are also very meaningful, and then they also hold over different cultural expressions of Buddhism or the history of Buddhism. So it's today we're not getting, say, American Buddhism for the making it American somehow. It's no. There's something important in some ancient traditions, and I think this is definitely one of the things that is very beautiful to preserve and very meaningful to maintain. And these just like these requisites, or the during the ceremony. I mean, I will point out the requisites, but then also there'll be the next part of the ceremony will be in Pali, but there'll be a questioning of the candidates to ascertain whether they are appropriate candidates, and of course, because of the long training that's taken place, and of course, we figured it out that okay, they're suitable, but still, the ceremony is one where the chanting acharyas are asking, they're questioning them. Do they have particular impediments? Certain diseases. Most of them are like communicable diseases, or diseases that would impair somebody's ability to live the life comfortably or ably, and so that's those are questions that have to be asked. And in the time of the Buddha, it seems there wasn't, although in such a long period of preparation, and certainly in Thailand then. Outside of a few places, and where, say, like our teacher Ajahn Chah is known for the long period of preparation that he gives, but say like for myself, I didn't ordain with Ajahn Chah, and pretty much wandered in off the streets and into a monastery, and ended up taking ordination just to try it out because I was interested in Buddhism and meditation, and some of the certainly at least one of the questions in here is do you have other impediments applied to me, which I didn't know, and nobody asked me. So fortunately, it turned out okay. But there's things that do you have permission from your parents, from your family? Are you fully 21 years old, 21 years of age? or 20 years. Are you free from government service? Say in the Buddha's time, and even in many modern cultures, like if you have to do military service before you be able to go off and do whatever you want. You're subject to those things. So, I mean, here in America, it doesn't really apply. But many of these questions are relevant even 2,500 years later, and and whether or not the particular question applies, the principle is really important in the sense: is this person ready? So that the questioning will take place. There's actually two questionings on an ordination day. One is, and this is again from the ancient traditions, one questioning is to take place outside of the Sangha, outside the community, and one is inside, because in the time of the Buddha they would just do one questioning, and then it happened that there was a candidate who just got really flustered and embarrassed and couldn't quite go through with it. So the Buddha said, well, do it outside first so that it's comfortably done, and then bring them in later. But outside here will mean just going to the back of the hall, and we'll do it outside the immediate proximity of the Sangha. So it will be, let's say it's going to be in Pali, and then you answer appropriately. Nati Bhante as no, Venerable Sir, Ahama Bhante, yes, Venerable Sir. And they'll ask what your names are, because that you'll be using a ordination name, a Pali name, and yours is Tejasāro, and they'll ask you, Ki Namosi, what is your name? And you should answer, Aham Bhante Tejasāro Nama.
Ahama Bhante.
And your name, of course, is Obhāsī, and you should answer, Aham Bhante Obhāsī Nama. And Sivako, when you're questioned as to your name, Ki Namosi, then to answer Aham Bhante Sivako Nama.
Ahama Bhante.
Then when it comes, the next question will be, what's the name of your upajjhaya, of your preceptor? And of course my name is Basano. They'll say, Ko namate upajjhayo, what's the name, what is your preceptor's name? And you answer, upajjhayo me bhante yasma pasanno nama.
Ahama Bhante.
Great. we practiced this. It went sideways many times. I knew you'd pull through. Okay. So the next part, if you first thing to do is have each one come up and formally give you your bowl, and then we'll point out the wool and robes together. Okay, scoot over a little bit. Attamang upanjangaha petabo upanjangaha petva patta jivarang ajikitabang ayante patto
Amabante
ayang sanghate
Amabante
ayang uttara sangho
Amabante
ayang antaravasako
Amabante
Gacchata amum hiokhase titata, which means go back and stand over there. This is not sort of esoteric language. These are practical instructions. Sivako, maybe you can help Obhāsī with his Ordination Tejasāro. Great. Okay, chanting acharyas are up next.
Namo tassa bhagavato.
Everybody could have their hands in Anjali.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Okay, so this next chant that the chanting acharyas will do is an announcement to the Sangha on their intention to question the candidates. Everybody has their hands in Anjali.
Sunatu me pante Saṅgho Tejasāro ca Obhāsī ca Sivako ca Ayasamato pasana sa upasampara peka Yari Saṅgha sapatakalang Aham Tejasarancha Obhāsincha Sivakancha Anusaseyam.
Okay.
Sunasi Tejasāra Ayante Sajakaro Buddhakaro Yam Jatam Tam Saṅkhamate Puchante Santang Atiti Vatapang Asantang Atiti Vatapang Mako Vitasi Mako Matu Ahosi Evantam Puchisanti santi te eva rupa apata Bhutang
Nati Bante,
Kanto
Nati Bante,
Hilaso
Nati Bante,
So
Nati Bante,
Apamaro
Nati Bante,
Manusosi
Ama Bante,
Purisosi
Ama Bante,
Pujisosi
Ama Bante,
Ananosi
Ama Bante,
Nasi Rajapato
Ama Bante,
Anunyatosi Mata Pituhi
Ama Bante,
Paripuna Visati Vasosi
Ama Bante,
Paripunante Patati Varam
Ama Bante,
Kinamosi
Aham Bante Tejasāro Nama,
Ko Namate Upachayo
Upajayo me Bante Ayasmata Samno Nama,
Sunasi Obhāsī Ayante Saccakalo Bhuttakalo Yang Jatang Tang Saṅghama Je Pucante Santang Atiti Vatapang Asantang Atiti Vatapang Mako Vitasi Mako Mantu Ahosi Evantam Puci Santi Santi Te Eva Rupa Apada Kutang
Nati Bante,
Kanto
Nati Bante,
Hilaso
Nati Bante,
So
Nati Bante,
Apamaro
Nati Bante,
Manusosi
Ama Bante,
Purisosi
Ama Bante,
Pujisosi
Ama Bante,
Ananosi
Ama Bante,
Nasi Rajapato
Ama Bante,
Anunyatosi Mata Pituhi
Ama Bante,
Paripuna Visati Vasosi
Ama Bante,
Paripunante Patachivaram
Ama Bante,
Kinamosi
Aham Bante Obhāsī Nama,
Ko Namate Upachayo
Upajayo me Bante Ayasamapasanno Nama,
Sunasi Sivaka Ayante Saccakalo Bhuttakalo Yang Jatang Tang Saṅghama Je Pucante Santang Atiti Vatapang Asantang Atiti Vatapang Mako Vitasi Mako Mantu Ahosi Evantam Puci Santi Santi Te Eva Rupa Apata Kutang
Nanti Bante,
Kanto
Nanti Bante,
Kilaso
Nanti Bante,
So
Nanti Bante,
Apamaro
Nanti Bante,
Manusosi
Ama Bante,
Purisosi
Ama Bante,
Pujisosi
Ama Bante,
Ananosi
Ama Bante,
Nasi Rajapato
Ama Bante,
Anunyatosi Mata Pituhi
Ama Bante,
Paripuna Visati Vasosi Paripuna Visati Vasosi
Ama Bante,
Paripunante Patachivaram
Ama Bante,
Kinamosi
Aham Bante Sivako Nama,
Ko Namate Upachayo
Upajayo me Bante Ayasamapasanno Nama,
Okay, so the next part is the chanting acharyas informing the Sangha that the questioning outside the boundary has been completed.
Sunatu me bante Saṅgho Tejasāro cha Obhāsī cha Sivako cha Ayasamato pasanasa upasampara peka Anusita te maya yadi Saṅghasa patakalam Tejasāro cha Obhāsī cha Sivako cha Agacheyu Agachata.
Oh, come in over.
I'm going to read the helpful down. one time they bow with those bowls on. So,
They won't do that again. Okay, so then the they're outside the edge of the Sangha, and they're going to make a formal request from the Sangha to receive their upasampada, they're lifting up into the higher ordination from the Sangha. And it's, I think it's very significant that it is a, how do you say, it's not, I mean, there is a senior elder who presides, but it's not the elder who gives the ordination. It is the Sangha, it is the community. And they say the preceptor and the chanting acharyas are kind of the facilitators, but what actually makes an ordination valid is the presence of the Sangha, the presence of the community. And this is something that is a powerful principle going back to the Buddha's time, that the Buddha wanting the community, the Sangha, to be the basis of continuity, as opposed to some individual teacher or some charismatic leader somewhere, because that sort of thing comes and goes. But what provides continuity and stability is community. So, just thinking, as a reflection, yes, one is entering into the community, one is being taken on by the community, but one is also becoming a part of community, becoming a part of that process of stability, and that's something that's really, to me, very, very beautiful. So, make the request.
Sangham bante upasampadam yachama Gurум patuno bante sangho anukampam upadaya dutiyam bante sangham upasampadam yachama Gurум patuno bante sangho anukampam upadaya dutiyam bante sangham upasampadam yachama Gurум patuno bante sangho anukampam upadaya.
Okay, so the next part of the procedure is me making a request to the Sangha, say as the, almost like as a facilitator of these candidates, asking the Sangha to accept them for their for the ordination, for their this upasampada, and so that it's sort of saying we've say as the preceptor, then introducing them, and feel that they are ready, they're appropriate to go on with the training and be fully ordained bhikkhus. Edani ko avso ayancha tejasāro ayancha Obhāsī ayancha Sivako nama Sāmaṇeras mama upasambara pekha upasambadanga kankamana sanghang yajanti ahang sabbabimang sanghang ajesami Sadhuavuso saboyang sangho Immancha Tejasāraṃ Immancha Obhāsī Immancha Sivakang Nama Sāmaṇeras Antarāya Ke Dhamme Pujitva Tattapatakalatang Nyatava Nyati Chatutena Kamena Akupena Tanarahena Upasambhade Mati Kama Sanitanang Karotu. Okay, so the novices can come forward, come up into the midst of the Sangha, and then the chanting acharyas will conduct the formal questioning of the candidates in the midst of the Sangha.
Sunatu me bante sangho ayam cha tejasāro ayam cha Obhāsī ayam cha Sivako ayasamato pasanasa upasamparapeka yari saṅghasa patakalam aham tejasāram cha Obhāsīn cha Sivakam cha antaraike dhamme pucheyam. Sunasi Tejasāra ayante sajakalo buddhakalo yang jatang tang puchami santang atiti vatapam asantang atiti vatapam santi te eva rupa apada kutam
Nati bante,
gando
nati bante,
kilaso
nati bante,
so
nati bante,
apamaro
nati bante,
manusosi
ama bante,
purisosi
ama bante,
pujisosi
ama bante,
ananosi
ama bante,
nasi rajapato
ama bante,
anunyatosi mata pituhi
ama bante,
paripuna visati vasosi
ama bante,
paripunante patachivaram
ama bante,
kinamosi
aham bante tejasāro nama,
ko namate upachayo
upajayo me bante ayasma pasanno nama.
Sunasi Obhāsī ayante sajakalo putakalo yang jatang tang puchami santang atiti vatapam asantang atiti vatapam santi te eva rupa apada kutam
Nati bante,
gando
nati bante,
kilaso
nati bante,
so
nati bante,
apamaro
nati bante,
manusosi
ama bante,
purisosi
ama bante,
pujisosi
ama bante,
ananosi
ama bante,
nasi rajapato
ama bante,
anunyatosi mata pituhi
ama bante,
paripuna visati vasosi
ama bante,
paripunante patachivaram
ama bante,
kinamosi
aham bante Obhāsī nama,
ko namate upachayo
upajayo me bante ayasma pasanno nama.
Sunasi Sivaka ayante sajakalo buddhakalo yang jatang tang puchami santang atiti vatapam asantang atiti vatapam santi te eva rupa apada kutam
Nanti bante,
gando
nanti bante,
Ilaso,
Nanti Bante,
so,
Nanti Bante,
Apamaro,
Nanti Bante,
Manusosi,
Ama Bante,
Purisosi,
Ama Bante,
Pujisosi,
Ama Bante,
Ananosi,
Ama Bante,
Nasi Rajapato,
Ama Bante,
Anunyatosi Mata Pituhi,
Ama Bante,
Paripuna Visati Vasosi,
Ama Bante,
Paripunante Patachivara,
Ama Bante,
Kina Mosi,
Aham Bante Sivako Nama,
Konamate Upachayo,
Upajayo me Bante Ayasana Pasano Nama.
Okay, so the next part of this ordination is actually what the ordination is centered around, or what is the and what is that the chanting acharyas will be they will be chanting, and what they are chanting is a motion. I mean, it's like a legal proceeding, a motion, and then 3 announcements to the Sangha, and then requesting consensus amongst the Sangha, and so it's a going through a recounting of these are the candidates, and they're free from obstructing factors, their bowls and robes are complete, they're asking for the ordination, if the community's ready, the Sangha may ordain them with Venerable Sanno as their preceptor. This is the motion, and then it's a repeat of that in terms of these are the 3 announcements of this is what's happening, and then is everybody agreeable with this? This seems to, and it sort of wraps it up at the end. This has all happened. This is agreeable to the Sangha, and I mean, actually, those who agree may remain silent. Those who do not agree, please speak. So it's done in the formal language. It looks all very straightforward, but it is at the heart of it is just a simple matter of is everybody in agreement? Is everybody going to take responsibility for this? Is everybody willing to be a part of this and help raise up these candidates into the position of fully ordained bhikkhus and take them on to help train them and look after them with their requisites and look after them with Dhamma and teaching and guidance. So that, and this is a principle that again goes back to the time of the Buddha, of a consensus mode of making decisions. Everybody needs to be on board. It can't be say divided in any way. And of course, in some decisions that are made, or some decisions that come about, or things that happen within the community, then sometimes it takes time to build that consensus. But of course, on a day like today, then it's quite straightforward. But that principle of consensus and agreement is it requires a level of communication and harmony that it has to be worked on, has to be developed, has to be cultivated. And so that, to me, the way that the Buddha set up Sangha it's kind of it's an ideal version of how human beings could live if they gave it a bit of effort. So anyway, we'll do the form, and this is what actually comprises the ordination. And there is a there is a timekeeper who will keep an eye on at the very end of the motion and 3 announcements, and the time will be noted, and then that's actually that ordination time date is one's. If you meet another monk down the road somewhere and you try and decide, where do I sit in the line? Then you ask, when were they ordained? And whoever was ordained first that's who sits at the side, and then you sit as a junior. And that so there's aspects of that's how it works. Wasn't there somebody in our community recently heard of where they had the same ordination day as each other, but one was ordained in England, one was ordained in Thailand, so there was a different time zones. So then you knew, okay, that's ordained ahead of you.
That's like myself with Ajahn X.
Oh.
We're both July 13th, 2003, but he was ordained in Thailand, so he's actually before.
He's ordained before you. Yeah. Okay, any more?
Sunatu me bante Saṅgho, Ayancha Tejasāro, Ayancha Obhāsī, Ayancha Sivako, Ayasamato pasanasa upasampara peka, Parisudha antaraike hidamehi, Paripunami me sampatachivarang, Tejasarocha, Upasampadeya, Ayasamata pasanena upajayena, Esanyati, Sunatu me bante Saṅgho, Ayancha Tejasāro, Ayancha Obhāsī, Ayancha Sivako, Ayasamato pasanasa upasampara peka, Parisudhantaraike hidamehi, Paripunami me sampatachivarang, Tejasarocha, Obhāsīcha, Sivakocha, Sanghaṃ upasamparang yachanti, Ayasamata pasanena upajayena, Saṅgho Tejasarancha, Obhāsīncha, Sivakancha, Upasampadeti, Ayasamata pasanena upajayena, Yasaya samato kamati, Tejasarasacha, Obhāsīsacha, Sivakasacha, Upasampada, Ayasamata pasanena upajayena, Sotunhasa, Yasana kamati, Sobhaseya, Dutiyanti, Etamatam vadami, Sunatu me bante Saṅgho, Ayancha Tejasāro, Ayancha Obhāsī, Ayancha Sivako, Ayasamato pasanasa upasampara peka, Parisudha antaraike hidamehi, Paripunami me sampatachivarang, Tejasarocha, Obhāsīcha, Sivakocha, Sanghaṃ upasampadang yachanti, Ayasamata pasanena upajayena, Saṅgho Tejasarancha, Obhāsīncha, Sivakancha, Upasampadeti, Ayasamata pasanena upajayena, Yasaya samato kamati, Tejasāra sacha, Obhāsī sacha, Sivako sacha, Upasampada, Ayasamata pasanena upachayena, Sotunhasa, Yasana kamati, Sobhaseya, Tatiyampi, Etamatam vadami, Sunatu, me bante Saṅgho, Ayam cha Tejasāro, Ayam cha Obhāsī, Ayam cha Sivako, Ayasamato pasanasa upasampara peka, Parisudantaraike hidamehi, Paripunami me sampatachivarang, Tejasāro cha, Obhāsī cha, Sivako cha, Saṅgham upasampadam yachanti, Ayasamata pasanena upachayena, Saṅgho, Tejasarancha, Obhāsincha, Sivakancha, Upasampadeti, Ayasamata pasanena upachayena, Yasaya samato kamati, Tejasāra sacha, Obhāsī sacha, Sivaka sacha, Upasampada, Ayasamata pasanena upachayena, Sotunhasa, Yasana kamati, Sobhaseya, Upasampanna Saṅkhena, Tejasāro cha, Obhāsī cha, Sivako cha, Ayasamata pasanena upachayena, Kamati Saṅghasa, Tasamatunghi, Evametam Dharayami.
Sadhu. Okay, so sadhu as the Sangha's in unison, giving its blessing. Can take the bowls off and set it off to the side. Okay, so although the formal ordination is completed, you're now fully ordained bhikkhus. Still, the duty of the preceptor is to give your initial instruction, what's called the anusasana, the beginning instruction in learning how to live this life, and that is pointing out, say, 4 things to be done, 4 things not to be done. So the 4 things to be done are the relying on the 4 requisites of your alms food, requisites of your robes, your lodging, and medicines for when you're sick. Those are your basic requisites to be relied on, and to be using that as a basis of a part of your training and living the life. So that there's a relying on these requisites, and then also the looking after them, caring for them, making sure they're not misused or they're not sought after unskillfully, and they're say received in appropriate ways, all of these are just relating to the requisites and the appropriateness of now that one is a fully ordained bhikkhu, then, I mean, just like one aspect, you can't be asking for things. If you're, I mean, you can ask senior monks or the stores monk if you're in need of something, but some random layperson walks through the monastery, or you go in alms around somewhere and he says, can I have this, can I have that? I said, no, that's not how it works. So you have to rely on the generosity of others, and receiving things appropriately, or even asking for things if you can ask, say, direct family members, but yeah, that is a possibility. But even then, usually your family knows you well enough that you don't ask too much. So it's a good way to sort of the family will probably call you on things before anybody else. So it helps to restrain as well. So that there's a relationship to requisites and relationship to the precepts. I mean, there's things that one does not do. There are, say, particular rules that if one transgresses, then one is no longer a bhikkhu. So one is keeping a celibate life, and that's in many different levels of say strictness and purity, but certainly the one's relationship to to sexuality is fundamentally changed, and there's and it's important to recognize that in order for the mind to become really peaceful, one has to understand the underlying impulses that drive us as human beings. And having a boundary really highlights impulses of, sexuality, or of like not taking what isn't given. No, you've got a boundary. Of course, who doesn't want stuff? But you've got a boundary of appropriateness you can't go beyond. And so the only way out is through inner understanding those impulses of sexuality, understanding the impulses of wanting to possess, wanting to consume, wanting to gratify in terms of possession. Impulses of aversion and ill will. The priest, what can't be broken is taking the life of another human being. I mean, that's pretty rare, although I've been around long enough to know that it has happened in the Sangha. In terms of a spiritual practice, what we're looking at is also having that boundary so that we're not acting on impulses of ill will and aversion. And, these are the fundamental impulses of greed, hatred, and delusion. But once you've got boundaries, then you have to investigate, you have to reflect, you have to understand. You can't follow it. or if you do follow it, then the repercussions are really awful for oneself. I mean, just the sense of guilt and remorse that one would feel. But then also in terms of, again, there are certain boundaries that are somewhat extreme, but they're not that, haven't, again, I've been around long enough to know that any of these are transgressible. And to give attention to understanding and learning, and understanding what our fundamental impulses as a human being, and it's this, and I say, like, one of the last one is around, say, lying about one's spiritual attainments. Here we are living a spiritual life, and the impulse of human beings is always to try to look good in the eyes of others, and speaking falsely in a way that highlights some sort of spiritual attainment is that's an offense of expulsion. It's extreme, but it's not inconceivable, but it's also, more importantly, it's to highlight that how do we keep trying to work with impulses that are unskillful, that are unwholesome? How do we work with that sense of self that's trying to be somebody, be something, and being nothing is another becoming, and being a nobody is another becoming. So there's a balance of wisdom that is really required in order to live this life fully. And so that taking on the ordination, taking on the training, is an opportunity to really understand this human condition and live a skillful life that is, say, uplifting for yourself, but also uplifting for others. And if you ask any human being, what's really important, and things like wealth and worldly possessions and worldly attainments, it doesn't take much for people to recognize that, that's not so important. But what's really important is inner peace and inner freedom, so that this life is really focused on that. And so learning how to live that skillfully so that one can be of benefit to oneself, but benefit to others as well. Not because you're going and haranguing them to convince them, but because you're living a skillful life that actually makes an impression on people. So that these of course I will do this again, the Anusasana, the formal instruction in Pali, and you respond appropriately. Yes, Venerable Sir, yes, Bhante. Anunyasiko bhagava upasambhadetava jataro nisaye jatari jakarniyani achikitung pindyalopapochanang nisaya pabbaja tattavo yavajivang usaho karaniyo adi rekalambo sangabatang udesapatang nimantanang salakapatang pakikang uposatikang patipatikang
Bhante.
pang sakula jivarang nisaya papacha tattavo yavajivang usaho karaniyo adi rekalambo komang kapasikang kosayang kambala sanang bhangang
Amabante.
Rukamula Senasanang Nisaya Pambacha Tattavo Yava Jivangusaho Karaniyo Adi Rekalabo Viharo Adiyoko Pasado Hamiyanguha
Amabante.
Putti Mutambe Sanjang Nisaya Pambacha Tattavo Yava Jivangusaho Karaniyo Adi Rekalabo Sapi Navani Tang Telang Madhupani Tang
Amabante.
Upasambanena bhikkhuna metuno dhammona patisevitabo Hannamaso thirachana gathayapi Yo bhikkhu metunang dhammang patisevati Asamana hoti sakya puttiyo Sayathapi nama puri sosi sachino bambo Tena sarira bandhanena jivitung Eva meva bhikkhu metunang dhammang patisevitva Asamana hoti sakya puttiyo Tango yava jivang karaniyang
Amabante.
Upasambanena bhikkhuna dinang thaya sankatang na adatabang Handamaso tina salakang upadaya Yo bhikkhu padang wa padarahang wa adireka padang wa dinang Thaya sankatang adiyati Asamano hoti sakya puttiyo Sayathapi nama pandu palaso bandana pamuto apabbo halitataya Eva meva bhikkhu padang wa padarahang wa adireka padang wa dinang thaya sankatang adiyatava Asamano hoti sakya puttiyo Tango yava jivang karaniyang
Amabante.
Upasambanena bhikkhuna sanchicha pano jivitana vorapetabo Annamaso kuntaki pilikang upadaya Yo bhikkhu sanchicha manusa vikahang jivita vorapeti Annamaso gabhapatanang upadaya Asamana hoti sakya puttiyo Sayathapi nama puttu sila dvinda binda pati sandika hoti Eva meva bhikkhu sanchicha manusa vikahang jivita orpetva asamana hoti sakya puttiyo tango yava jivang kalaniyang
Amabante.
Upasambanena bhikkhuna uttari manusa dhammona ulapitabo Annamaso sunyakale habilamamiyati Yo bhikkhu papicho Echa pakato sanghang bhutang uttri manusadhamang ulapati Janang va vimokang va samading va samapating va magang va palang va Asamano hoti sakya puttiyo Sayathapi nama Thalo mata kachino bambo punavillulhiya Eva meva bhikkhu papicho echa pakato sandang bhutang Hutri manusadhammangulapitva Asamano hoti sakya puttiyo Tango yava jivang kalaniyang
Amabante.
Aneka pariyayena kopanatena bhagavata Janata pasata alahata samma sambuddhena Silang samadhakatang samadhi samadhakato Panya samadhakata Yava devatasa Mandane mandanasa Pipasa vinayasa Alayasa mugatasa Vattu panjedhasa Tanhakayasa Viragasa nirodasa nibbhanasa Sachikiriyaya Tata sila paribhavito samadhi mahapalo hoti mahani sangso Samadhi paribhavita panya mahapala hoti mahani sangsa Panya paribhavitang chittang sammadeva Vasavehi vimucchati Sayatihang kamasava bhavasava havijhasava Tasamati vo imasming tathagata pavedite Dhammavaneye Sakachang adi sila sika sikitaba Nadi Chitta Sika Sikitaba, Nadi Panya Sika Sikitaba, Tata Apamadena Sampadetambang.
Okasa vandami bante, sabanga paradam kamatame bante, maya katang punyang samina anumoditabang, samina katang punyang mayhang tatabang, sadhu, sadhu, anumodam.
Okay, sadhu. So that concludes the ordination. Just as these were just before after the meal, then there was lay people from Amita who were there. They came to join the ordination and wanted to offer those to the new bhikkhus, and then they also wanted to make an offering to the elders who were presiding elders. There we go. And then maybe pass over to Jintita Panyo Ajahn, and to Kovilo. The whole contingent of ajahns, teras, so very auspicious, and very auspicious to have Reverend Hung Shur here today, Reverend Jin Chuan joining us. It's a real blessing. It's a blessing to have you back on the continent, and you've just been back a week in North America and America, so to be able to take the time and effort to come up, we're really happy. And it's great to have Ajahn Yaniko and Ajahn Kasapo doing the honors of leading us, and it's been. I think that's again the importance of this being a communal effort. It is the community taking you on for ordination. It's not, of course. There's a certain element of the buck stops here, and it's the abbot. But as the main teacher and taking responsibility, but it's also the responsibility of the whole community. That's the the spirit of the say from the time of the Buddha, of the Sangha taking on the duty of training and leading and nurturing candidates for leading the holy life, leading the spiritual practice, so that to be helping them out, guiding them, correcting them when necessary, encouraging them when necessary, and it's an organic process. And for the candidates to, if things aren't clear to one, then to ask questions and to seek guidance, to seek clarification of whether it's points of Dhamma or points of Vinaya, then to be seeking clarification and looking for ways to train yourselves. Because in the end, that's, yes, we we do rely on teachers, we do rely on the monastery, but in the end we've got to learn how to train ourselves, and that's what's really important. And that, one of the qualities that comes to mind that Ajahn Chah used to emphasize over and over again is just the quality of patience. Just being patient with training, being patient with yourselves, being patient with the people around you. I was recently listening to a talk by Ajahn Tirudhammo, recounting and at that point Ajahn Tirudhammo, he's another ox, and same number of years in the robes as me. So but he was staying with Ajahn Chah and really keen. He was taking a lot of notes, really trying to make the best of his time, and also wanting to do preparations for pulling together a biography of Ajahn Chah and doing translating of teachings, and it's very focused and say in his own words, just trying to glean as much as he could, and at one point there was a few of them walking together in the forest, which is, I can imagine the scenario because I was in it myself so often. Ajahn Chah walking along and then turning to Ajahn Tirudhammo and just saying, "I can't give you any wisdom. I can just give you patience." And of course Ajahn Tirudhammo, "What?" He's a very rational person. And "I came here for your wisdom." But it's really true in that any wisdom that we do get, has to come out of our own willingness to be patient and to stick with, to have a sense of, an enduring mind that stays with truth, stays with the Dhamma, stays with the teachings, stays with the practice, and that's where the wisdom will arise naturally from that, because you can't. Again, you read a book or read a manual and get wisdom. It has to come through one's own experience. So take these to heart, and we will wrap up the afternoon with an expression of appreciation and gratitude to all the people who came out today as witnessing the ceremony, the occasion, and particularly to the family and friends who made the effort to come. It's quite wonderful. It means a lot to the people who are ordaining to have that support, that encouragement. Okay, so we will chant. First thing that we will do is chant. As a Sangha, we'll chant a blessing for the ordinants who have taken ordination, and then we'll do a sharing of blessings and aspirations. Sambaroga vindimoto sambasanda บวะชินโดสามเวรมเทกันโดนิบุญโดจัตวาบวะสาหิติโยวิวัจจันตุสัมมาโรโควินาสดุมาเทภวัตวันตรายโยสุขีติกายุโกภวะอภิวาทนาสิริสเนจังโมทาปัจจายโนจาตารโรธัมมาวะดันเตอายุวันโนสุขังพลังเทอัตตลันดาสุขิทาเวลุลหามุตัสสะสเนหโรคาสุขิทาโหตัสสะสะเมหิญาติปิเทอัตตลันดาสุขิทาเวลุลหามุตัสสะสเนหโรคาสุขิทาโหตัสสะสะเมหิญาติปิเทอัตตลันดาสุขิทาเวลุลหาบุตัสสะสเนหโรคาสุขิทาโหตัสสะสะเมหิญาติปิมินาปุญญกรรมเมนะอุปาชายากุณุตระวาชริโยปการาจมาตาปิตาจัญญาตกาสุริโยจันติมาราชากุณวันดานละเปจพรหมมาลาชอินดาชโลกปาลาจันเทวันทายโมเมธามนุสาจัมมาจาตาเวลิกาปิจสาเปสัตตาสุขีหนตุปุญญานิปักตานิเมสุกัญญเทวิดาเดนดุเกปังมาเพตโวมาตังอิมินาปุญญกรรมเมนะหิมินาอุเดเสนะเจเกปาหะสุลเบเชวตันโอปาดานะเจตนังเยสันดาเนเอียนาดัมมายาวันเนมบะนะโทมัมมังนาสะตุสัมบันดาเยวายาตัจจโตภเวภเวอุจุเจตังสติปัญญาสาเลโกเวลิยามินามาราลบันดุโนกาสะกาตุญจวิริเยสุเมบุญดานิภวโลนาโทธัมโมนาโทวโลธัมโมนาโทภาเจกมุโทชสังโฆนาโททะโลมัมมะเทโสธัมมานุภาเวนัมมาโรกาสังละบันทุมา Okay, so we can pay respects to the shrine and then Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Sivako Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namassami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅgho Saṅghang Namami Pay respects and take leave of Sure. Okay, so safe travels back for everyone.